If you like what I do, consider joining my channel or donating to my coffee. Links in the description.
Get fired up for Most Extreme Elimination Challenge! What are these people running from? They're not. They're running to the world's toughest game show in town.
And let's go to our MXC Impact replay. Take another look.
You gotta be kidding me.
Enough foreplay, Kenny. Let's go to Gee.
The Forgotten Castle is an action-adventure challenging game with a great dark atmosphere. That's what its store page says, and it has the Metroidvania tag, and I love Metroidvanias that are action-adventure challenging games with a great dark atmosphere. So, here we are with a Forgotten Castle review. But what's the game about? You play as an amnesiac old man who wakes up inside a mysterious castle full of magic and danger. Monsters and necromancers are afoot, and it appears that your only way out is through. Is this adventure worth remembering, or is this castle best left forgotten?
Combat.
Forgotten Castle's combat is as simplistic as it comes. For a majority of the game's runtime, you swing your sword and dash to evade damage. And that's pretty much the extent of the old man's abilities. There's no block or parry. You dip in and try to get some hits with your sword, then dip out before an enemy can retaliate. It's not a bad loop, just not one to get too excited about, especially because it never really evolves. The old man does have a healing mechanic that keeps things interesting. Every successful hit gives you a tick on this meter. Get 4 ticks, and you can heal for 1 HP. And when your heal is ready, you also gain this aura that lets you know your heal is ready, and acts as a light source in darker areas. And this game is pretty dark in the beginning, so definitely take advantage of that. This healing mechanic is kinda cool because it charges so quickly. The old man is pretty spry for his age and attacks very fast, easily refilling his heal meter in seconds. There were so many bosses where I'd just stand there and exchange blows because I could just heal so quickly. And I guess that really says all you need to know about the game's bosses. Bosses tend to do their thing, stand still for a bit so you can hit them, and then go back to doing their thing. And with how quickly you build up your heal, bosses never really become much of a threat. Boss battles boil down to how quickly you can get your hits in and then retreat so you can heal. I'm not gonna say this approach to boss battles wasn't fun, as I actually enjoyed it, but I could see someone looking at these boss fights and thinking it's not for them. The old man does eventually get other moves, like a crossbow and essentially a bomb, but both are so slow to pull off they really aren't viable, especially considering how fast your regular sword attack is. Why waste time with these slow attacks that are very likely gonna miss their target when I can just go blow for blow with the boss until it dies? I think the answer to that question is pretty clear. And that's it for combat. Forgotten Castle's combat may be simple, but it's built around that simplicity with total commitment. The fast healing system keeps fights breezy, the bosses are more about pattern recognition than pressure, and the old man's sword ends up outclassing every other tool in his kit. It's not deep, but it delivers a straightforward, punchy loop that's fun in the moment, even if it won't satisfy players looking for something more demanding.
Abilities. Platforming.
This is where the game gets truly frustrating. I already mentioned how the old man gets tools that are too slow for combat to be worth anything. So what if I told you these same tools are also needed to overcome ability gates? Maybe you wouldn't think it was too bad. I mean, laying down a bomb to blow up crates doesn't require quick reaction times or demanding inputs, right? Well, how about trying to use this chain to cross this gap while enemies shoot at you and the floor gives out beneath you? Is that demanding enough for you? There are only a few instances of this bullshittery, but only a few instances is a few instances too many. And let's get this straight. The abilities themselves are fine. A hookshot, a bomb, and a crossbow to toggle distant switches. It's the platforming that will get you. I'm not going to sugarcoat this because I just don't have enough sugar. Every platforming challenge in this game was awful. All of them. There's a semblance of competent platforming here. The scenarios are interesting, and the rhythm for the most part is tight and on beat. What the game lacks is polish. I'll just show you this. That's right, I just fell through the platform. Awesome. Falling through platforms, falling through cliff edges. It's enough to make you pull your hair out. And the late game has so many of these sections. Being an overhead game usually means your platforming is gonna be tougher than a typical side-scroller. It's something inherent with the perspective. But when you also lack polish, rage quitting almost becomes a necessity. And that's it for this section. Forgotten Castle's abilities are fine on paper, but the platforming wrapped around them is where everything falls apart. The game throws slow, clunky tools into fast, unforgiving scenarios, and the lack of polish, from falling through platforms to inconsistent collision, turns otherwise solid ideas into rage-inducing frustration. Overhead platforming is already a tough sell, but when the fundamentals aren't reliable, even the best designed challenges feel unfair. In the end, the platforming doesn't just stumble, it no-clip face plants right through the floor.
Progression.
This will be a short section as Forgotten Castle has no character progression. No XP, no leveling, no gear or different weapons, no damage or HP upgrades. Nothing. At one point, I enhanced my healing meter so I could store 2 heals, but I have no clue when that happened. There are side quests in the game, but they're linked to endings and not character progression, so there's no sense in talking about it here. There's also no shops or currency, so yeah, Forgotten Castle is pretty bare bones on the character expression side of things. That's not inherently bad, but it kinda stings when your combat is also so bare bones. Forgotten Castle's saving grace is its short runtime, about 4 hours, which makes the lack of gameplay and character evolution far more bearable. A game with this little progression only works if it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Exploration.
For all the game's faults, at least its exploration is good, and that goes a long way. I complained about the platforming's lack of polish, but the platforming sections that are most affected by this lack of polish are few and far between, though they do become very prevalent in the mid to late game. When you're not clipping through floating platforms, running around this strange castle is a lot of fun. Finding new biomes is always a treat, solving puzzles is a lot of fun, and though there isn't a whole lot to find due to the lack of character progression, there is still some cool things to discover. Lore and memories are the main things you'll uncover, helping you understand what the heck is even going on in this castle. Granted, I would have much preferred finding things that made my character stronger, but exposition is a close second, I suppose. The in-game map is serviceable, but it desperately needs custom markers. So many times I'd get abilities with no way to mark up my map so I could easily remember to return later. And this got a bit frustrating because the game has 3 endings. 2 of the better ones locked behind gathering these exposition sources that require you to backtrack most of the time. So yeah, either me having better memory or custom markers would have helped, and custom markers is a far easier ask. Forgotten Castles also comes with fast travel, a waypoint system that's spaced out pretty evenly with lots of waypoints, so no complaints here. And that'll do it for this section. Despite its rough platforming in a map that desperately needs custom markers, Forgotten Castle's exploration still manages to shine. Running through new biomes, solving puzzles, and uncovering bits of lore is genuinely enjoyable, and the generous fast travel system keeps backtracking from becoming a slog. It's not the most rewarding exploration loop due to the lack of meaningful upgrades, but when the game isn't tripping over its own platforming issues, wandering this strange castle can be surprisingly fun.
Atmosphere. Narrative.
The Forgotten Castle is set in a mysterious and dark castle, and you're an amnesiac that has no idea what's going on. It's not the most imaginative setting, but it's one I love, and Forgotten Castle does a really good job at keeping you in the dark, in every sense of the word. Not only is so much of the early game dang near impossible to see, but the game also likes to keep its story, setting, and plot close to its chest. And to the game's credit, it does a great job at drip-feeding players crucial information to gradually bring them up to speed with everything that's going on here. Moreover, the game hides almost every piece of lore from players and rewards curiosity with nuggets of exposition. Again, we see story delivery like this all the time thanks to the rise of FromSoft, but this delivery style is emulated for a reason. People love it. And Forgotten Castle's take on the formula is pretty dang effective. Forgotten Castle also takes itself very seriously, which is refreshing and helps immerse you in the story. Now, I'm not saying the story is going to blow your mind, but it will not disappoint because it's pretty solid. The game has 3 endings, and the 2 better ones depend on how well you piece together the story by finding hidden lore and NPCs scattered throughout the castle. It's a fair way to lock these endings, and uncovering the truth feels genuinely rewarding. And that'll be it for this section. Forgotten Castle may lean on a familiar setup, but it uses that familiarity to its advantage. The game keeps you literally and narratively in the dark, revealing its story in small, rewarding bursts and hiding nearly every piece of lore behind curiosity-driven exploration. Its serious tone helps sell the mystery, and while the plot won't blow anyone's mind, it's solid, engaging, and pays off well. With 3 endings, 2 of which depend on how thoroughly you piece together the castle's secrets, the narrative ultimately feels like a satisfying reward for players willing to dig deep beneath the surface.
Final thoughts and score.
Forgotten Castle is a game with clear strengths and equally clear flaws. Its combat is simple but snappy, its exploration is enjoyable, and its dark, mysterious atmosphere does a good job pulling you through the castle's secrets. But the platforming, easily the weakest part of the experience, is rough enough to derail entire sections of the game, with collision issues and late-game challenges that feel more punishing than they should. The complete lack of progression doesn't help either, though the short 4-hour runtime keeps the game from overstaying its welcome. I award The Forgotten Castle a 6 out of 10. The Forgotten Castle is available on PC. I played it exclusively on the Steam Deck with 0 issues, and therefore give the Steam Deck rating of verified.
Pair placement.
Forgotten Castle is a game with some real highs and some equally real lows. Its exploration and atmosphere do a lot of heavy lifting, and the drip-fed narrative is genuinely engaging. But the unpolished platforming, bare-bones progression, and overly simple combat keep it from reaching its full potential. It's a short, intriguing adventure wrapped in a rough-around-the-edges package, enjoyable in moments, frustrating in others. The Forgotten Castle remembers that it's in the C tier. The Forgotten Castle is a flawed but interesting experience that's worth a look if you're patient, curious, and willing to push through the rough spots. Personally, I enjoyed it despite its platforming warts. There's a good chance this game may castle a compelling spell on the right player.